Good evening. I would like to call to order the Governing Board meeting of January 24, 2012. Welcome, everyone. I will ask Dana Sarr, board member, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have two substitutes tonight among the CEC. Dr. Ron Natal is here from Glendale in place of Dr. Irene Kovala, and Todd Simmons is here for Chris Bustamante of Rio Salado Community College. Welcome. I'm pleased tonight to honor Randolph Lum, our previous board member. I was elected to this position at our meeting 2 weeks ago, and Mr. Lum has been the president for the last 2 years. And so I want to present this to him in appreciation for his dedicated leadership and service to the Maricopa Community College District. And I also want to thank him because when I came on the board in October 2010, he has been a mentor for me. I believe this microphone is not working.
Talk louder.
I'm speaking in my professorial voice. Can you hear me out there? We may do this again. Or not. Well, here we are.
No.
I don't know. It isn't.
No.
Here's the.
No.
Oh goodness. I hope this is not an omen.
It's your first time, huh?
Can we go ahead and clap for Mr. Lum? Thank you.
I'm not sure I finished saying how much I appreciate his being a mentor to me since I've been on the board. He's been very helpful, and I'm grateful. Let's see. Well, we're going to have a short recess until we can get the microphone worked out. Before we conduct our normal business, it's traditional for a new president to present an address about the board's goals this year. And I would like to read some remarks.
Mr. Burke, can you pull it up a little closer?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. In 1983, the National Commission on Excellence in Education presented a report on education in American public schools titled A Nation at Risk. In the report, the Commission stated that the educational foundations of our society are presently being eroded by a rising tide of mediocrity that threatens our very future as a nation and a people. Further, the report stated this indictment of the educational system, quote, if an unfriendly power had attempted to impose on America the mediocre educational performance that exists today, we might well have viewed it as an act of war. As it stands, we have allowed this to happen to ourselves, end of quote. In April 2013, we will look back on 3 decades of educational planning to improve America's schools. Despite the implementation of myriad programs, we still read reports of American students falling behind other countries in math and science, reports of significant high school dropout rates, reports of students testing into developmental courses when they enter college, and reports of employer criticisms of college graduates' skill levels. In Arizona, approximately 24 of every high school students drop out before graduation. Of the 76 graduates, approximately 38 go to college. And among the students who come to the Maricopa colleges, approximately 22 test into developmental math, approximately 15 test into developmental reading, and approximately 13 test into developmental English. Since 2008, budgets for public schools and higher education have decreased despite a growing number of students. At the same time, both legislators and citizens are demanding greater accountability from teachers and schools to effect student success. And President Obama has called for an increase in the number of citizens with baccalaureate degrees to meet the employment needs of new jobs that require advanced education. Also, in June 2011, President Obama announced a major initiative to dramatically enhance and improve industry partnerships with community colleges and build a nationwide network to maximize workforce. To achieve this goal, the community colleges will need to increase the number of certificates, associate degrees, and transfers to universities or four-year colleges. The Maricopa Community College District has responded to the national goal by asking that we increase the number of graduates from our college by 50% in this decade. In subsequent years, the administration will provide annual metrics reports to reflect achievement toward that outcome. The board recognizes that our colleges face significant challenges this decade, and we are confident that administration, faculty, and staff have the ability to reach this goal. The Maricopa Community College District has a history of improving curriculum, educational programs, student services, and community involvement. Innovation is part of our chemistry, and numerous programs initiated at the colleges and in the district office have exemplary success. Recently, our Chancellor, Dr. Rufus Glasper, has introduced literature about disruptive innovation and disruptive governance to the Chancellor's Executive Council and Governing Board. Those concepts will become a continuing discussion in the Maricopa District. Disruptive innovation is an approach that allows colleges and universities to focus on the best ways to use people, technology, and processes to enhance delivery and add value to its services. The literature on disruptive innovation does not recommend doing away with all programs currently in place, but application of disruptive innovation calls for implementing new methods to serve students as opposed to refining a current system. In addition, the literature emphasizes a collaborative effort by faculty, administration, and staff as opposed to imposing change on an educational practice. Generally stated, disruptive innovation leads to activities that allow us to serve more students, to improve quality, and to reduce cost. Disruptive governance, on the other hand, reflects a change of perspective by board members. We are committed to policy governance, which leads to establish outcomes and to evaluate achievement of outcomes. Disruptive governance does not conflict with policy governance. Rather, the concept provides a greater discussion among board members, the chancellor, and the colleges regarding outcomes. Disruptive governance can be divided into two broad practices: creating more time for innovative and exceptional governance work, and using the found time to change existing practices, structures, and culture to promote more critical governance thinking and to create new shared mental models of governing and innovation. As we develop greater awareness of disruptive innovation and disruptive governance, ideas will emerge about the most pressing needs of the Maricopa District as previously identified and prioritized by the governing board. However, I ask the board and the chancellor to focus on research and innovations for students in developmental math, reading, and English courses. The number of students who test into developmental courses is a national concern. The board recognizes that Maricopa faculty and administrators are working diligently to address students' needs, and they have developed exceptional programs at campuses. and they also share information at the annual Student Success Conference. Nonetheless, the district still has work to do to increase the number of students who must develop skills to perform effectively in 100-level courses. In our discussions of disruptive innovation and disruptive governance, we need time to understand the concepts and to initiate opportunities for staff, administration, and faculty to think creatively and collaboratively to help students achieve success. We have been innovative for decades. However, current needs require greater innovation. The board has confidence that employees and students will build on past successes to create more effective educational programs and processes in this decade, and the board is eager to observe these innovations evolve. Thank you. We now have the Citizens Interim, and I have one card. It's from Ann Omke, who is president of the Retirees Association.
Good evening. Good evening. And I'm delighted to be here, and I want you to know that Doyle Burke, your president now, happened to be on our board, and you took him away from us. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here, our first time to be presenting to you, and I think you found on your table a kind of a concept of what we're all about, what we do, and what our involvement might be. I was delighted to hear Doyle talk about a nation at risk. You have 1,200 members sitting here in terms of retirees. Something probably comes in each one of your head as terms of what might happen with some of those 1,200 people. I'm just guessing that some of them are willing to take on some of the things that Doyle just talked about just now. I'm quite sure of that. We are here. And you'll notice that we've titled our kind of paper of, We Are the History of Maricopa Community Colleges. We are the retirees. We represent the spouses. We include spouses. We include part-time and full-time, primarily pretty much working together on a board that consists of the people on the back side, so some of you will be able to identify some of your own people there, I'm sure, at the table. We are very, very anxious to be able to help you in any way that you deem necessary. One of the things that I think we have a feather in our cap for the last time, I think Dana can speak to this, we worked very diligently on that last board election. Over 3,000 phone calls were made in a very short period of time, and many of those were even followed up. So we are proud of that. We're delighted that Dana is here representing us, and we look forward to be able to work on continuing board elections. Currently, we have just launched a scholarship drive for $100,000. We've reached $40,000 of that. We did on our last mailing about close to $15,000. So we're going to make it. Those it goes to an endowment that takes care of students that apply for our scholarship. We also serve on many, many scholarship committees on our local campuses. The next section you'll notice there talks about special projects. One of the things that we're currently spending a great deal of time with, and that has been the 50th anniversary that everybody is really concerned about. Obviously, Phoenix College did their 90th, and it was a bang-up kind of thing. We're looking forward to participating now in that 50th. Many activities being enjoyed. And we're looking at developing a video. I think you've maybe heard something about that. But we're identifying the history makers of all of our colleges and so forth, so identifying them. The retirees probably know those people in your past, probably maybe most of them better than some of you new board presidents. Anyway, we look forward to working on that. We're very much involved with ASU has an Emeritus College. We're emulating that. We're doing quite well with that. Where we work with, we also share with them their travel committee, so our people travel with ASU. They do many, many wonderful kinds of travel things, and our people are involved in that. The membership is open to anyone who is retired. We obviously would love to say that we have 1,200 paid members. We don't, but that's the goal, obviously. We have an annual meeting that we do here in this room. We'd invite all of you to attend. That meeting is April the 25th here in this room. We basically communicate through a newsletter, which I think our Chancellor is now forwarding out to you each time that it comes out, and thanks to the board and the Chancellor, that is an item that is done for us by the district, and so we're very, very appreciative of that. And that is a vehicle to keep our members informed as to what is happening in our organization, and to provide opportunities for them to be able to work on other projects that you might have. Just would flip over quickly for you to look at the membership of the board. Probably many of you will recognize those people. I'm sure that they've all been active people on your own campuses, and we are delighted to have them as representatives of our board. This past year, if you look down at the final, where it says college representatives, this past year we've endeavored to identify a single member from our board to be a representative to each of the campuses. And you'll be hearing quite a bit from them in relationship to the upcoming 50th, because they'll be working with many of you in that, as well as with their PR and marketing people. So we look forward to that collaboration very much and feel like we have much to offer. Obviously, we do have a very long history in terms of helping to identify those people and developing some of those wonderful stories. And we have wonderful stories. I'm sure that we can go on for hours and give you the wonderful stories. This past week we interviewed Mildred Bulpit. I'm sure many of you know of Bill Bulpit. And Mildred had a string of, on a yellow sheet, a mile long. I said, Mildred, you can't get all those in. So they're wonderful, and we look forward to being able to work with those from all of the campuses. They're being videoed, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that, or I think you've heard more about that. Anyway, that's pretty much who we are. We anticipate being here each time now. We truly do want to keep you apprised of what we're doing. We certainly will try to keep ourselves apprised of what you're doing, and trust that you will find opportunities to use our services. We're here to help. We do mentor. We're available for ask, and maybe we can find somebody that can help. Maybe we leave it like that. Anyway, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, and look forward to many more activities with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate your work on the scholarship program. That's a wonderful dedication on the part of retirees. Thank you. It's now time for governing board reports. Dr. Campbell?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a specific report at this time, but I would like to comment on the comments you made regarding education and things that need to be done in the future. I think also, in addition to having people working at the various skills at community colleges, can you all hear me out there? Okay. Well, one of the critical areas is that of elementary and secondary education. I'm also involved with the elementary schools in the Roosevelt district, which is the area where I live. We try to work with boys and girls. The boys are the most problematic, because all they want to do is play football and basketball, and we're trying to get them involved with their reading, their math, and their science. But if we're going to improve the education system throughout the entire country, I think nationwide there's a couple of things we need to do. We need to get parents involved and quit using the excuses that they have been using. And we need to work with those kids and demand that they get off of these iPads and computers and technology things and start concentrating on their math and their science like they're doing in other countries such as China and so forth. Those are critical areas, and if we're going to survive in the future and continue to be one of the leading countries, we have to get parents involved, and we have to get the kids working on their critical subjects and so forth. Thank you. Whatever it's worth.
All right, thank you. Ms. Pearson?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Glasper and everyone who participated in the meeting and on disruptive innovation. I really appreciated it. I am excited. At the time, I was having asthma issues and couldn't hardly breathe after being sick for over a month. And I said that if I could breathe, I would dance a jig. I was so excited about the whole entire concept, the idea that it's just very exciting to me. I also wanted to thank Dr. Pan for the use of the Red Mountain campus. Although it was a hour drive, it was very nice to be out there. And I appreciated the whole entire hospitality of the campus. It was a really neat place to be, very nice and beautiful out there and peaceful, and a really neat place to have a campus. And so I want to thank Mesa for hosting that and having us there. And again, Dr. Glasper. And I also want to publicly thank everybody that are participating in some of the exciting new things that are coming around and coming about, and to see the enthusiasm of people like Nikki. And I'm just really, really excited about what's happening in our district.
Thank you. Mr. Lum?
I'd like to welcome you as president and Dana as secretary as our new officers. And I don't think everybody is aware of what this brings to us as far as Oxy congratulating you and a culmination of all your years of 37 years of dedication to teaching at the college, and now you're the boss and you're president of the board, and I think that speaks a lot. And Doyle's also a president of the Faculty Association. He's has a master's in divinity. He's a volunteer chaplain. He's been meet and confer chair and numerous other positions, too many to mention, in the district. He served as numerous committee, boards, commissions, such as the Tempe Public Library Advisory Board, Tempe Historical Society, and the Arizona Humanities Council. And again, too many other commissions and boards to mention. So I think congratulations, and we're just lucky to have you, and it seems like very complimentary to your years of dedication.
Yeah.
And to I'd also like to mention the same with Dana Sarr. He was with us for many meetings on our events a year before he got elected. What he brings to the college, he has 19 years as a member of the Fountain Hills Unified School District, so he knows a lot about elementary, high school, and the governing system of the boards that brings our people here. He's administrator and teacher at the East Valley Institute of Technology. He was editor and Open Systems Publishing. He's been a general contractor, controller, and owner of construction companies. He's in real estate in Fountain Hills and Overgard, where he manages the Buffalo Park Recreation Area. I think it's called it Bison Park. Buffalo Bison. You say Buffalo, I say Bison. Mr. Service Committee also includes serving Arizona State Board of Education, professional practices, and advisory committees, and serving on the Town of Fountain Hills Planning and Zoning Commission. So he brings us a lot of expertise. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Sarr?
I'll pass.
This has been a somewhat busy month. Mr. Sarr and I have been visiting with vice chancellors. When we came on the board, we had some visits with all of the vice chancellors, and then went to each of the colleges just to get acquainted. And this month, we're starting sort of a second phase of getting acquainted with the vice chancellors to talk about their work and our work this year on the board. So we met with Dr. Heathcott, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jackson, and Lee Combs, our legal counsel, this past month, and we have more meetings coming up. I was pleased to attend the East Valley Partnership breakfast to hear our governor speak last week. Mesa Community College helped to host that event with East Valley Partnership, so appreciated their effort there. And then I was able to attend the Martin Luther King breakfast in Phoenix, where Don Campbell was honored, one of the recipients honored at the Martin Luther King breakfast. So I want to point that out. Not to be outdone, on that same day, I attended a luncheon in Glendale where Randolph Lum was honored. All right. I think that's it. Now for the internal community, Chancellors Report. Dr. Glasper.
Welcome, Chairman Burke, into our board moving into 2012. I have a few things I'd like to share today. I'd like to follow up on the recognition for both Mr. Lum and also Dr. Campbell. Mr. Lum was presented at the Dr. Martin Luther King Unity Day luncheon, and he received Promoting Inclusiveness Award for his work in the community. And I just think it's outstanding that we had two board members that day that were honored in regard to Martin Luther King celebration. And Dr. Campbell was for the City of Phoenix MLK Celebration Stand Up for Justice. On that same day, we had two other retirees receive awards on the same platform with Dr. Campbell, and it's Dr. Will Counts, who was over at Gateway Community College, and Dr. Carnella Harden, who was at Glendale Community College. So we were well represented on that particular day. So I just want to congratulate them as well. In addition to that, I would like to echo Mr. Burke's comments regarding the retreat at Red Mountain on disruptive innovation. I think it was an outstanding retreat, and it allowed us to place a couple of frameworks on the table so that we can have some methodology for gauging how we will proceed for change, both looking at change in culture and change in operations. And the three different elements in terms of disruptive innovation is what we're looking at right now, especially how we utilize our people, how we change our processes, and how technology helps us to advance and support our students and student success. What we're looking at in terms of the disruptive governance will allow our governing board to look at the way we do business, the way we conduct our individual meetings, and possibly try to find some time, because I think that if we restructure slightly, and we're looking at a few ideas, that we will have more time to just have a dialogue. On that particular day, we had an excellent dialogue. The board members were engaged, and we had the CEC members and other visitors in the audience. And in order for us to achieve our goals moving forward, we need to have more dialogue so we can better understand some of the challenges. I mentioned to the governing board that day that later in the week I was going to have an opportunity to go to the University of Pennsylvania. And we had a national president's roundtable of about 26 individuals. Dr. Robert Zemsky, who's in charge of the Learning Alliance and a faculty at the university, chaired that item. And he started the conversation with a question regarding how higher education is continuing to squeeze and cut its resources. And he also had as a framework disruptive innovation for us to think about how the 26 presidents and CEOs who are around the table are impacted. And the big question was, can you accept a 15% cut tomorrow if we were asked to do so? And to a person, everyone says that if they tell you to cut, you'll just find a way to cut. But what are the consequences? What are the consequences to our organization if we continue to do business the same way? And what are the consequences? So what we ended up doing was, at the end of a day and a half, we're going to be presenting some suggestions in Change Magazine, which will talk about a collective strategies for higher education, specifically community colleges, and community colleges and universities, both public and private. The best thing about the meeting is that everyone was represented in the room. It wasn't public alone. It wasn't community colleges alone or universities alone. It was all higher education sectors. And I said if they really wanted to do something radical, it would be a P20 perspective, and they'd had everyone in the room. So what we're pushing for is to take this conversation to a broader audience, because I also believe that we cannot achieve our goals, especially the goal that the board has asked us to, and that's to increase completion by 50% by the year 2020, without having broader conversations with public and without having broader conversations with our K-12 partners. So I encourage us to continue the conversations, and that we should adjust our schedules and locations as appropriate in order to do so. Lastly, I would like to share with the board, and I had an opportunity to send out to them, the final report for the 21st Century Maricopa. And I say final report because in January 26 of 2010, the board gave me their support, affirmed my support to both review and implement the recommendations out of the consultant's report of December 9th of 2009. And I committed to completing that review as appropriate and to come back to the board with a final report. And those items that were still outstanding will now roll over into the One Maricopa initiative. Out of 93 recommendations, we've completed in substantial manner, if not complete, 77 recommendations. So we have about 16 that we have decided quite candidly that they did not warrant consideration by our district because they did not support our mission, vision, and our values. But as we continue to move ahead, we're going to be looking at other areas that will be added to these particular recommendations and will be added to our seamless student experience and the other recommendations that we're looking at in order to have our colleges become more effective and more efficient. I'd like to thank the governing board for their support in this endeavor, and I ask them to embrace the seamless student experience because we believe that it is truly a disruptive, innovative approach for us. And disruptive innovation will make us somewhat uncomfortable throughout our district. But what we're asking for is to have a conversation. We're asking everyone in our district to talk about what it means for us to change. And I think collectively and individually, we can move through these changes in a manner that will allow us to achieve the goals of student success and move as closely as we can to the year 2020 goal. So with that, I want to thank the governing board for their support, and I'm asking everyone to continue to stay on board as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from Chandler Gilbert Community College students, student life reports.
Yes, there is a secretary report on
What?
No, there's secretary.
Oh, all right. We do not have a secretary's report.
Okay. Good evening, President Burke, members of the Governing Board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the Chancellor's Executive Council, and community members. My name is Mike Green, and I'm the Student Life Director at Chandler Gilbert Community College. I am here today to tell you about one of the district's signature leadership development programs, what we call as a Student Life Directors, Learning Outside the Classroom. The three-day leadership retreat was held on September 9th, September 10th, and September 11th at Pine Summit Camp in Prescott, Arizona. Student Life Directors from 9 campuses were responsible for this event. This is the 8th annual district-wide leadership retreat, the largest ever. 175 attendees from the most ever 11 colleges, including Central Arizona College, Coconino Community College. The leadership retreat's theme was Leaders Always Deliver, and it was designed to promote leadership development through experiential learning. Again, learning outside the classroom. The student learning outcomes we identified for the retreat were that students learn about leadership qualities, communication skills, self-realization of their own personality characteristics. I want to show you a quick, brief video from the retreat. You will see pictures of icebreakers, get to know you activities, guest leadership panel, comprised of Maricopa staff, administrators, and students. We had a board break, which is a powerful workshop about overcoming challenges. And we had other leadership workshops, including delivering an awesome e-portfolio and inclusive leadership in a global society, team building activities, and networking opportunities. Let's hope the technology works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next, representing Chandler Gilbert Community College, I also asked one of our clubs to come up and speak to you. I want to introduce Colton Orcutt, who is the vice president of one of our clubs. He's the psychology club vice president, who will speak to you about their club and some of their activities in the fall semester at Chandler Gilbert Community College. Please welcome Colton.
Thank you, Mike Green. Good evening, President Burke, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and community members. I am Colton Orcutt. I am currently a sophomore at Chandler Gilbert Community College, and I am pursuing a degree as an associate's in business, which I hope to turn into a bachelor's of science in management and psychology. So, what is Psychology Club? Well, it's all that, which can be summarized into two words: education and service. The education aspect of our club is to provide guest speakers to involve students into what Psychology Club is, into what the field of psychology is, which affects everyday life, how you interact with other people, and all these other guest speakers. We also do service, as in drives and other community outreach programs in the Valley that could require our services, and we can help out and contribute. In 2011 was our big build-up semester. This was the first semester we got our Constitution all finalized and all that, and so we started off with the Chill and Grill, which is the first event, which was recruiting other new students. We also did the Arizona State Hospital, one of our big service projects. We were able to bring in a bunch of hygiene and clothing for the Arizona Mental State Hospital near the airport. And we also did the Holiday Adopt a Family Drive, which we were able to provide to a family that was in need. For the speakers we had Dr. Stephen Fox, who did dream interpretation. We also had Power Paws, which is an organization that trains dogs into helping the mentally handicapped and other impairments. We also had Erica Jolette from the Bistro Center, which just specializes in autism behavioral therapy. And we also had Jan Baker, which did relaxation techniques. We also did an ETC garden plot, which we planted multiple vegetables to contribute to the greener resource. We also had a movie day, which was Diagnosing Difference, which is about gender identity. We also participated in weekly student life planning board meetings. This first semester we got to participate and vote and contribute to what's going on in all the other clubs on campus and vote for what was important to us. For 2012, we plan on having our sign-up booth again in Chill and Grill later this week. Psi Beta chapter is going to be coming out. Hopefully we'll get certification to be part of the Psychology Club Honors Association, Psi Beta. The ASU and Transfer Advisory Panel is going to be coming, which we'll be able to discuss more of what's going on with transfers and what the psychology program at ASU is like. Dan Williams from Siri is coming. They specialize in sensory impairment therapy to treat the symptoms. They don't specifically treat a specific disorder, but the symptoms that deal with sensory issues. And many more. We also plan on having Stephen Fox come back again and do more dream interpretation. So if you guys have the day free, once we have the day, we'll let you know, and you guys can come out and find what your dreams mean. I want to thank you for giving me the time to be here, and I want to open up for any questions.
Questions?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. thank you both. It's exciting to see all the activities in that club, and I'm sure that those activities are replicated in clubs throughout this district. So that's a good report, and we appreciate hearing that.
Thank you.
Faculty Executive Council Report, Eddie Jenna.
President Burke, trustees, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, distinguished guests. I'd just like to share with you tonight a report from the Faculty Foundation with regard to our 2011 foundation year. We had a very successful year. Business was brisk, as they say, but that's not necessarily good news, because what our money goes to primarily is students who are in need outside the regular sort of mainstream scholarship financial need. We help students who need tuition assistance, but not only that, rent assistance, simple grocery money, money for the bus so that they can get to campus, emergency shelter, replacement of textbooks and school supplies due to theft, you name it. In the fall of 2011, we doubled the amount of funds that we allocate toward these kinds of emergency situations, and we blew through that by mid-October. In the fall of 2011, we had 15 students total who we were able to help with their emergency needs. And we raised, throughout the year of 2011, about $18,000 to assist students in this way. This semester, which has just barely begun, we've already helped 6 students to stay in school through our efforts. And there's no sign of that need slowing down, I'm afraid. So, in an effort to raise more funds, besides what we do in terms of our book drive, we also have an annual bowl-a-thon in the spring. That'll be happening on Friday, April 27th at Tempe Bowling Lanes, which is right down the street on Rural and 60. I know some of you are bowlers. I can see it in the way you walk. So please come on down, sign up, mcff.org. You can get the form to sign up a team, 4 people to a team. We'd love to see you there. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, and Phil Jallovic, excuse me?
I have a question for Mr.
Sure.
Jenna.
Sorry?
You caught my attention with the fund on, because this is the first I've heard of funds to help with books that have been stolen.
Yes. We are a separate 501c3, so we don't have the same public, well, not that the Board Foundation necessarily has these constraints either, but we found a niche that many other places don't necessarily meet student needs in this manner, and we found it's a big niche.
How do students know that this exists? Because this is the first I've heard of it, and I know what's really shocking is I just had this little gal, when I asked her if she was in school, she said that she had enrolled, went to the bookstore, bought her books, went to the bathroom, came out where she had set them on the vanity, and they were gone. And she had spent an entire summer since graduation and fall raising the money to pay for her tuition and her books, and had to withdraw.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to say. And now to hear this, I'm like, how do these kids or students not know, or how do we, how do they know that this exists?
Well, we do everything we can in terms of letting the faculty know, especially our counseling faculty, advisors, folks who tend to work with students on the front end. And once the word gets out, they put in an application. We turn that around in an extremely rapid manner, sometimes 24 to 48 hours, because, in these kinds of situations, students can't wait. Mm. So any help that you can provide in getting the word out, we're delighted to.
So do they go to Mr. Pan first? And Mr. Pan, by the way, this happened on your campus. So do they go, where do they go?
They could go to any faculty member, but in particular, it's usually the counseling faculty who is the representative of the foundation at each college. But that's not necessarily the case. They could go to any faculty member, say that they need assistance. That person, if that person is not fully aware of everything, their chairperson for the department will know, and that'll get them in touch.
Well, they went back to the bookstore. They told them they couldn't help them. They went to then dropped their classes and nobody said a word.
I'm sorry to hear that. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the Adjunct Faculty Association, Phil Jalloway.
Good evening, President Burke, members of the Governing Board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, and guests. I have a couple of initiatives, more than a few, that we're engaged in this spring, and I'd like to cover a few of those this evening. One of the things that I would like to point out is an accomplishment, the culmination of 15 months worth of process, basically under a director from the Governing Board to simplify our manuals, and we've in fact published early this year the Adjunct Faculty Employee Handbook. It's a single policy set, hopefully from our perspectives, clearer and more consistent. It overrides previous formal and informal policies. It overrides contradictory policies, both previous, current, and in the future. And one particular aspect that I like is it's a buck stops here. Basically, it's the Chancellor's, it stops at the Chancellor's desk. It doesn't change without the Chancellor's approval, and basically asserts that adjunct faculty are employed with the district in a holistic sense under a same set of rules wherever they're engaged in teaching students. It recognizes the dramatic change. It's a recognition as employees for adjunct faculty 1 week before class start. This relieves a particularly painful tuition waiver problem we've had for more than a few semesters. It actually does a proper authorization for resource usage. In doing so, it still does not change any responsibilities of adjunct faculty and does not change any compensation. It asserts clearly that the adjunct faculty are indemnified for their activities on behalf of students and the college. And very importantly is we've entered into a very simplified acknowledgement process, which hopefully within a semester or two we can make electronic, and so there'll be no paper exchange relative to this. So this is a dramatic move forward, certainly from the adjunct faculty perspective. I obviously want to thank all the participants in this process, Ms. Jackson and her team, Jim Bowers, Phil Randolph, previous Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, the support of the Chancellor as well as Executive Chancellor Maria Harper-Marinick. It wouldn't happen without their support, and every college, both at the president level and the vice president of academic affairs, participated in this. So I think we've made a dramatic step forward, at least our perspective, and all the participants think so as well. So this is an accomplishment. Took a while, but we got there. More recent activities for adjunct faculty, as we've talked about over the last couple of months, is we're continuing our joint faculty-student success engagement. Working with the Faculty Association, we've identified initial areas being examined and actually acted upon. We have put together a faculty-student survey instrument designed to inform the instructor about the student intent, where they're going, and ultimately give the instructor information. But the amazing thing about asking questions is it raises focus for students from two perspectives. One, that we care as faculty, and secondly, that these issues are things that they have to start thinking about. Or if they haven't thought of them completely, we're here as resources to help facilitate their further progress and direction. And again, as faculty members, we have the opportunity to touch the students so frequently and in a one-to-one level that we think this is a major contribution for going forward. Again, we're doing some experimental testing usage of it. We'll see how that goes forward. We have some pretty good plans with that. We obviously need to do faculty professional development to go along with using these tools, and we've identified some work with there. And then, of course, there's success stories. Each faculty member has had successes at what a student dialogue will get, et cetera, and sharing that will stimulate faculty to actually thrive in engaging students and helping them focus on their success. Another initiative for adjunct faculty specifically is over the last 8 years, we've been recognizing at the district level adjunct service for a 15-year mark. Now, this is the service of individuals who, it's an amazing job adjunct faculty have. They get to be rehired every semester. So we've actually had people who have effectively been rehired, voted of confidence 30 times or more. And so we at the district level appropriately have been recognizing that accomplishment, and then obviously the quality that goes along with that. We've had a lot of feedback from adjunct faculty. We said, well, you know, 15 years is a long time in today's job market. Shouldn't I get some recognition if I'm here for 10 years, which would be 20 votes of confidence, or 5 years, which would be 10 votes of confidence? And obviously, when everybody speaks, you listen, and we're carrying forth that message. And so you have the distribution, at least from the statistics we have, as to where people place. And it's clear that there's a fairly large population percentage of adjunct faculty who are 15 years, who are 10 years, and who are 5 years. And from our perspective, that recognition is totally appropriate. Previously, we've excluded MAT employees, PSA employees, etc., from the people who are recognized. Well, you know, they're Maricopa employees, so why would we recognize them as adjunct faculty? Well, they're adjunct faculty. If they work for another company, we'd recognize them. Why wouldn't we recognize them as adjunct faculty? So we've put forward this initiative. We're currently talking through with executive administration about it. It's been something that the Adjunct Faculty Association has been funding for the previous years, and we obviously would be glad to continue doing that. Another thing we've been doing, and it's been a kind of challenging thing, developing outstanding adjunct faculty recognition. We've been refining, and now are going to be pretty aggressively publicizing and using some very novel approaches to it, what the criteria are for an outstanding adjunct faculty member. Their pedagogy, their assessment, enrichment, development, professionalism. And I think everybody would be fairly intrigued to see the standards that we're going to encourage amongst adjunct faculty. We're going to obviously promote a broader recognition. It's been kind of a one per college process for many of the colleges, but we'd like to up the level, much like Rio Salado, who this last September recognized 30 adjunct faculty for their outstanding contributions to the Rio Salado success. And we think that's a level of recognition. It's about 3% of the population of adjunct faculty at Rio Salado that a lot of the other colleges should take on. And so we're going to help, we're going to try and facilitate participation in process from adjunct faculty. Last but not least, we're working at the district level for faculty professional development online resources. We do a lot of exciting workshops, content that basically calls upon people to go somewhere and be somewhere. And many times it's during the day. For most adjunct faculty, that's a barrier for participation. They might be available at nighttime. They might be available at the weekend. And so workshops are great, but they don't solve a problem when you're trying to get the right resources and this excellent content to over 6,000 individuals. So we're developing this content. We have set up an initial test of Adjunct Faculty Resources Portal. We're developing online developmental modules. Literally, what do we want each adjunct faculty to learn? And so we're starting to put that together and obviously set up a 24/7 access to this content. And then ultimately, in the longer term, when there's enough material, we'll actually set up professional developmental tracks. So you can serve what does a 15-year adjunct faculty need versus the 0 or first-year adjunct faculty. All of this activity is occurring in conjunction with the faculty development, the district faculty development coordinators committee. It's a subcommittee of that. The objective there is to leverage the available district-wide skill sets. We have a lot of talented people, and we want to avoid duplication of effort amongst all the colleges. If we coordinate our efforts, this is something that kind of you do with quote-unquote no additional effort, along with a bunch of adjunct faculty volunteers. So this is all complementary to what the College Centers for Teaching and Learning are doing, and we're very excited about moving this dramatically forward over this semester. So those are some of our top initiatives, lots of other things going on. Thank you for your continued support, and I appreciate your time. Any questions that I can answer for you?
Well, I would like to say this is really good news. I'm glad on your first part of that report you talked about some success and some concerns you had. So the board's really pleased to hear about that.
Great. We're making progress.
Okay.
Oh, ditto. You're wonderful.
Oh. Our adjuncts are wonderful. I'm glad to be here to represent them. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any Vice Chancellor reports? Any college reports? Hearing none. The next section has to do with external community. The first is the AADGB report. This is the Arizona Association of District Governing Board Members, and I'm a member of that body. We met this last week and then met with the college presidents throughout the state, followed by a trip to the state capitol to meet with a number of legislators about some concerns of legislation this year affecting the community college. So we had some good meeting with legislators, and we'll continue working on some bills. We have the ASBA report. Mr. Saar.
Pretty much the same in terms of their activities with the legislature. The ASBA has a legislative liaison that is bringing to us the bills that affect not only the community colleges but also K-12, which also affect us in the long run. So we're keeping track of those. They're coming in almost every day that do affect education, and we'll keep the board appraised and the CEC on those issues that most affect us.
Thank you. The next is the legislative update. Ms. Patricia Hill.
Thank you. President Burke, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, I apologize, members of CEC, and all others present. I'm here this evening to provide you with a brief legislative update. As you know, the legislature convened the 50th legislature second regular session on January the 9th, and today is the 16th day of the session. Just a reminder, the deadline for the submission of House bills is February 6th, and the deadline for the submission of Senate bills is January 30th. So by the 6th, we should have a sense of what the universe of issues is going to look like that's coming before the legislature this session. In terms of legislation, to date we've had 1,030 legislative proposals have been posted, and compared to last year there were 853, so they are running ahead of schedule. We typically see about 1,200 bills introduced during the regular session, with about 350 that actually become law. This session, the number of bills introduced is expected to be higher than what we would normally see based on the extraordinary number of introductions we've seen thus far. Some bills, such as the legislation that would allow guns on campuses, directly affect community colleges. Other bills that affect community colleges affect a variety of political subdivisions. For example, legislation related to tort reform, transparency, or open meeting laws. Our legislative team works closely with our staff, other community college staff, and a variety of stakeholders to assess the impacts of these legislative proposals on our operations, and we look very much to our staff to provide the kinds of input that we need to be able to position the legislation properly. We will include a summary of key legislative issues in your next board packet, and I would be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
So the bill to have us become a baccalaureate, where is that at? The bill to have us become a baccalaureate?
Mr. President, Mr. Lum, we have not seen legislation thus far this session that would establish baccalaureates for community colleges.
Thank you. I do not see any notice of awards and recognitions this month. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the order of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. A motion by Mr. Lum, a second by Ms. Pearson to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. I hear no opposition. Okay. The approval of the order of the agenda is completed. Let's see. The next is the consideration of the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
A motion by Dr. Campbell, a second by Mr. Lum to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. The next item is an approval of an amendment to Board Resource Regulation item, number 610, relating to facility rentals. Dr. Glasper?
Mr. Burke, members of the board, we have a recommended amendment, as you mentioned, to the Board Resource Regulation 6.10 facility rentals. And it is moved that the governing board approve and amend to the proposal to amend Board Resource Regulation 610 that was presented for first reading by Mrs. Pearson on December 13th, 2011, and adopt the proposal as thus amended. The movement strikes the addition and further amends the policy. And let me just give you the gist of the recommendation in front of you. With respect to the setting of fees for the facility that are owned and operated by the Maricopa Community Colleges by non-Maricopa individuals and organizations, the Chancellor shall direct that rental rates are set annually at the lowest level reasonably possible, consistent with legal limits, including the so-called gift clause of the Arizona Constitution, statutory limitations on competition with private enterprise, and also statutory prohibition against the use of district resources to influence elections, use restrictions imposed through district bond obligations, and such other restrictions as may be imposed by law. It's in essence giving the Chancellor the authority to set the rate at the lowest rate possible without going below cost and without violating any of the state laws. And with the existing policy in terms of that the colleges have the authority to waive in terms of relationships, I think this would respond to the request of the board and Mrs. Pearson from the last meeting. And I will open it up to any questions you might have.
Amen.
Board members?
I'd like to thank you for this. I mean, it supports what Deborah and I been talking about as far as inclusiveness, bringing people on campus, and letting groups involved with the school have a lower rate and can participate more on our campus.
Technically, we had a motion last month, and this language is an amendment. So I'm going to entertain a motion to amend the previous motion.
I so move.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Pearson, a second by Mr. Sarr to amend the proposal on Board Resource Regulation 6.10, facility rentals. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. We now need to vote on the proposal before us. So need a motion to approve this policy change.
So moved.
And second, Mr. Lum moves, Ms. Pearson second, to approve this policy change. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is unanimous. The vote is unanimous. Business services. approval of guaranteed maximum price contract amendment and budget increase for Estrella Hall expansion and remodel at Estrella Mountain Community College. Ms. Thompson, would you like to comment?
Board, this is, as stated, a request to increase, to amend the budget and increase the budget for one of the bond projects at Estrella Mountain, and it's related to an increase in space for the facility that the college has deemed as necessary to move the project forward as best as possible.
Okay.
I move we accept this motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lum, second by Mr. Sarr to approve this motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. The second item is approval of guaranteed maximum price contract amendment and budget. Nope, I just did that one. All right. The second is approval of contract award for resurfacing of running tracks at Scottsdale Community College and Paradise Valley Community College. Ms. Thompson?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this project is needed at both colleges to improve the running tracks. They're very worn, and they need this renovation resurfacing done in order to make them usable and safe.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Second.
All right. Dr. Campbell moves. Mr. Sarr seconds the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. The next item is approval of authority to enter into leases of Phase 1 space at Gateway Community College Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation. Let's see, Ms. Thompson?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this facility, in this facility, it's expected that there will be some leases to bioscience firms, and as such, as we're starting to move forward with this, we're looking for the board to grant authority for us to enter into the leases that we're able to, without bringing each lease before the board, but to work the authority from the board through this general approval.
All right.
I move we accept this motion.
All right. Motion by Mr. Lum. Second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Campbell. Any discussion?
Dr. Giovannini, this is pretty good. This has been, what, a year and a half in the making since you started construction, roughly?
Construction's been about a year. The whole project itself, from the initial award of the grant to Phoenix, about 3 years.
And you know, I noticed in your documents that you've already got people standing in line to get in. I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Burke, Mr. Sarr, we have what we believe are 5 tenants that are ready to sign leases.
Good. I'm not opposed to this at all. I appreciate what you've done, and I hope this works as well as we all thought it will.
Thank you.
Very innovative.
Okay. Any other discussion? All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. We are now at the monitoring reports. Ms. Thompson?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the first monitoring report is the budget analysis report that's provided to the board on a monthly basis. This is for the first half of the fiscal year, obviously through December 2011. Our revenue collection is similar to prior years and what we would expect given the timing of tuition collections as well as property tax collections and state aid distributions. Similarly, expenditures are on pace with prior years given that payroll is every 2 weeks and there's a certain regularity to a lot of our spending. And all of our patterns are within our expectations of where we'd end up at the end of the year and what our adopted budget put into place.
Thank you. And then general obligation bonds. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is a quarterly report that we provide to the board. We don't provide this as frequently because the spending is a little bit patterned differently than regular patterns you'd see for spending on payroll, for example. So we have, for our 2004 bond program, issued $800 million of the $951 million authorization. We're expecting through this year to start to really spend down what remains of that $800 million, and then in 2013 and or possibly 14, we would proceed with our final bond issuance for that program.
Great. Thank you. Our next scheduled meeting is February 7 at the Real Conference Center across the parking garage. And it will be an interesting meeting. For those of you in the audience, we're doing a monitoring report, and we have a goal of increasing student success by 2020, and we're going to be looking at annual metrics. And this will be a year, this year at least, somewhat of a base year, but we're looking over the next few years to try to increase success each year. So this will be an interesting meeting for you, and I encourage you to be at that meeting.
Good.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned.